Oh? Oh? Hello, I am interrupting the typical intro. Murphy and I are, if you're watching this on YouTube. Just to let you know that during like the first 20-ish minutes, the audio isn't going to sound like it typically does. And that is because for some reason when I clicked stop recording, the first 20 minutes got lost. I don't know where it went. It went into the abyss. It's gone forever. So the audio that you are going to hear is the audio from my camera specifically. So thankfully we didn't lose all of it. And it was just too good. Julie and I didn't want to, recreate it because I feel like it just wouldn't have been authentic at that point. And also, we recorded for 2+ hours. So if we had to redo the whole first part of the episode, I just feel like she wouldn't have probably left here until midnight. So I do apologize. Maybe one day I will have a producer, but for now, this is, you get me. I'm the producer. I'm the talent. I'm everything in between. I'm the editor. Murphy's also the talent. So I truly apologize. But I hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the O Podcast. I'm your host, Abby, and today I have Julie Ruby here with me.
Hi, Abby. How are you?
I'm good. So, Julie, we know each other from high school.
We do.
But, I haven't seen you since high school.
Yeah, it's been a really long time.
We were talking about, freshman year, right?
Yeah, in English class freshman year, yes.
Yes. But, so I asked you to come on because you recently did, actually Brittany, who I just had on last week, her makeup.
Yes.
And I realized that, you, create content, so you're a content creator and, a Fort Wayne makeup artist.
I am, yeah. It's all been a really wild ride, to be totally honest. I never thought I would be in the position that I am right now with the career that I have.
Yeah.
Just thinking back, when I was a freshman in high school, I just never thought I would become a makeup artist.
I know, that was actually going to be, one of my, first questions for you is, how did you, start this? How did you figure out you wanted to do makeup?
As weird as it's going to sound, I actually did it because of YouTube. Okay, this is going to age us, but we graduated in 2011. I even feel weird.
We're in our 30s.
I know, I was I just turned 30 in May, so I'm feeling it.
Are you a Taurus or a Gemini?
I'm a Taurus.
Okay, I'm a Gemini. I just turned 31.
Yep.
Wait,
so are you?
I'm 1 year completely older.
Interesting.
The cutoff is in May.
Okay.
And I think my mom had me wait. So
okay.
I'm one of the old guys in our grades. You're the second person I talked to that just turned 30 in May, and I'm yeah, I'm 31. But still 2011.
That's very funny. Yeah, so we graduated in 2011, and at the time, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life, and so I went to a 4-year college like everybody else. I feel like it was pressure from my mom, That's
what did you
go to
for?
college? Criminal justice.
Okay.
And I have a minor in psychology. The original goal was going into psychology, getting a master's or a PhD, and becoming a family and marriage counselor.
Okay.
Somewhere along the way, I think it was about my junior year, I realized that I did not want to go on to school because I freaking hated school.
Yeah,
I just did not want to go on.
And I only did it because I felt like I had to.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure, I feel
Yeah.
just with societal pressure.
Yes.
You're going, okay, well you have to get a degree and then you go into your job, but it's hard because then you don't really get to your career goals until you're 40 or 50 usually. Especially if you go on for your master's or your PhD, it just takes such a long time.
Right.
And at that point in time though, I was all right, well I really don't want to go on to schooling, so what else am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back to my childhood, I go, well, I watched way too much Criminal Minds and CSI when I was growing up.
I'm a true crime girly.
Yes, I listen to all the true crime stuff
Yeah.
now. It's either YouTube or podcast or a combination of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched way too much of those crime shows when I was growing up, and I decided to change courses at that point in time and go, well, what's an easy transition from psychology to go on to something else involving, criminal justice, and public policy was the next best thing. So
Okay.
technically the degree is in public policy, but it's a major in criminal justice.
Yeah.
I did a couple of, I guess, it was kind of weird. I took this 500 level class, and all we did was take field trips all over the place.
Oh, that's fun.
Like, literally went to the county jail, and then, you know, toured around, and then they go, do you want to get your fingerprints done? I'm like, no, because that's how the system tracks you. It was a trap, 100%.
Are you out here murdering people or what?
No, but just in case I did want to, my fingerprints would be in this.
She's like, wink. No.
The makeup artistry is just a cover.
Yeah. That's how you get your victims. Like, they all mysteriously in a bed.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I do have an in-home studio, you know.
Okay, Dexter.
No,
I
but
was like, where were we at?
yeah, I know. I was like trying to look back around. I know
Murders.
my digression is gonna get really bad. No, but I at that point in time, that's what I decided to major in, and I just went through it, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I actually want to do with this?
Yeah.
And I thought about becoming a police officer. I didn't like the law side of it at all because being a lawyer, no offense, seems like the most boring thing ever. And I hate public speaking.
Well, I feel like TV,
so it's like no.
I feel like TV makes it seem like so fun, and I'm like, I just don't think it's.
I had
like
to take
a
a
bunch of
courts
arguing.
like a courts class where we just had to do reports over all of these court cases. And you had to sit in a courtroom and just watch all these court cases because during just civil matters, you can walk in the courthouse at any time and just watch these
Oh.
court proceedings, which is really weird.
Yeah.
Like anybody can literally just walk off the streets and go sit in on these. It's very strange. So we had to do reports over those. We had to see like 3 a week or something and then do actual essays over them. It was the weirdest thing.
I feel like that'd be kind of interesting, but like, what are the court, like, is it like,
Oh, it's really stupid things. I mean, they're
Divorces
civil
and-
cases, so they're just
Okay.
very small things. Like, oh yeah, this person's cat like got in my yard or something and tore up my grass, and that's what it is.
okay.
It's not like anything super serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like the podcast that we're listening to.
No, it's not like people are getting murdered or anything. No, it's nothing like that. It's just very like petty things that people
Okay.
are suing other people over.
Yeah.
And we had to do a bunch of reports over that, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to go in the law side of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, what if I become a police officer and then go into forensics, because that's really where the detective, you know, mindset kind of comes from. But I was like, you know, I really don't want to do that either. So then I kind of became lost at that point in time, which kind of ultimately made me become a recluse, kind of.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of, you know, a little bit scary, you know, when you invest all this time and this money, especially going to school, and I'm still paying off student loans from them. So it's like really, you know, intimidating. You're like, okay, well, what do I do? You know, I've spent all this time and this money doing this, and I don't know what avenue I want to go in anymore. So I kind of took time to myself, and I was living with roommates at the time, like a couple of girls, and I just honestly kept to myself at some point in time, because I kind of went through like a little bit of state of depression after that.
Yeah.
When I was like, I don't know what to do about
Is
this.
this post graduating and then not knowing what to do, or
No, this is like in the middle of school.
Okay,
It was
okay.
my senior year of college, and I mean, I was close enough that I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna graduate, 'cause
Yeah.
I'm close enough, you know? And I got to this point where I was like sitting in my room, as lame as that sounds, because I was like so fed up with my classes. I'm like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna sit in my room, and I started watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And since it was around like 2013, like 2012 at the time, I kind of got like more into like the makeup content, because all the beauty gurus started popping off at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
And it became really popular. Like I watched like, you know, Jaclyn Hill and Bethany Moda and like all the original like beauty content creators. And I go, well, this is like really cool, you know? I never thought I wanted to become a YouTuber, by the way, at the time. Like that was never my goal. I just thought it was really cool that these people were making money like off of a content space
Right.
like this, you know? And then I go, okay, well, maybe I should start, you know, maybe trying to like practice makeup myself and kind of get into it. And that was a fun little hobby, and it was a creative outlet that I had for myself.
Yeah. Did you always like doing makeup, or like did this like inspire you to like really get like into it?
You know, I was always one of those people that so I kind of went in between my childhood of like being a tomboy, like where I liked to just roll in the mud and like collect earthworms. But then I also was, you know, the type of girl that went to Claire's and like bought that little plastic play makeup too, and
Yeah.
had fun with that too. So I
Yeah.
kind of had both sides going for me. But this was the time where I ultimately figured out that I really did genuinely enjoy the artistry side of it,
Yeah.
and really enjoyed playing with colors and did all these fun creative looks of myself all the time, and glued like rhinestones to my face one day and freaked out my roommates. It was really great. And then of course they let me practice on them, so whenever
Yeah.
we went out, it's like they always had me do their makeup, and then like for graduation I did like all their makeup and everything too. And then I figured out though that I really like doing makeup on other people more than I did myself.
Okay.
So that's pretty much how I guess I figured out that I liked doing makeup, and that makeup artistry was something that I'd like to pursue.
Yeah.
I just never thought it was a realistic career for me, because you only think of makeup artists as in like, it's a hobby for you, or you're a celebrity makeup artist, and
Right.
that's what it is.
Like,
but
no
there's
in
no
between.
in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like there's got to be somebody that needs to fill this gray space that we have here.
Right. Well, I mean, if you think about it, like, there's so many reasons for it. Like, anywhere you go, it's like, I
Mhm.
mean, you predominantly do wedding makeup, correct?
Yes.
So, I mean, we're in the Midwest. People get married, like, all the time.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And most people want to get their makeup done.
Mhm.
And not even just the bride. It's like
Yeah.
the bridesmaids, too. Like, I know every wedding I've been in, I'm like,
Oh, I'm
I
getting
need it
people
done.
with like
I'm paying
several
for it.
bridesmaids. There's a wedding this year where I have a wedding with like 15 people on each side.
Wow.
I feel like after the pandemic hit, people are just like, all right, we don't have any boundaries or any limits. I'm gonna invite all the friends that I know. I'm like, I don't even have
I
like
was about to
15
say-
people that I'm close to.
I mean, I would just, I have like weird things. I don't want a wedding, but I just like couldn't imagine having like 15 people. Like, that's so much.
Can you imagine grouping that many girls in one room together? I can't even get my 6 friends to be in a room together. We all have different schedules and everything.
It's
I'm
tough,
like,
especially
it's
in your
hard.
30s. It's like, okay, like someone has to get a babysitter, another
Mhm.
person, like they're off doing
Yeah,
work
it's like they have their
things.
lives at that point in time. Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
get that many people in a room. But yeah, no, 15 people on one
Right.
side.
Right. Yeah, but I do want to go back to like, okay, so you figured out you've been watching the YouTube channel. I always say the YouTube, and then I'm like, oh, I sound like
Old
I'm 80.
person. Old person alert. We hit 30 and now it's the.
The YouTube. I'm
We're
like,
going to the
what?
Walmart today.
So you're doing YouTube,
Yes.
or you're watching YouTube, and you realize, you know, like, you actually enjoy, you know, doing other people's makeup. Like,
Mhm.
at what point, like, were you still like working? Did you have like a more corporate job, like using your degree, or were you just doing odds and end jobs? Like, how did you get from graduating college to like you're doing this full time now, right?
The path that I took to get where I am.
Correct.
Yeah. And I worked completely backwards. Obviously, I already had gone through a whole entire bachelor's degree at that point in time.
Yeah.
Or usually when you're 18, you know, you go into cosmetology school or go for aesthetics or something,
Yeah.
and then you go on to your career. But I didn't take the traditional path, obviously, and so being a 30-year-old, I almost feel kind of intimidated that I'm working backwards almost,
Okay.
trying to do it, because I actually am going for my esthetician's license starting in November of this year.
Oh, good for
Yeah,
you.
and then I'll end in August of next year, but then I'll be officially licensed, and it'll be super official.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Do it now. You know what I mean? It's like, who cares?
Oh, I figured why not, yeah.
It's like, because if you don't, then down the road you might want to get it, and then like you're still 5 years down the road.
Yep. Yep. I figured while I still can, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like, don't have any kids to tie me down right now, so
Yeah.
I just, you know, minus my husband because he's kind of a child sometimes, but besides that. No, but yeah, so after I graduated, I just had a bunch of retail jobs. I didn't even work like a corporate job or anything.
Okay.
And I forget what job I was actually in at the time, but I know I quit one of my jobs. I had literally like 8 different retail jobs at one point in time because I was kind of just floating. And I eventually got hired at Ulta Beauty.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it first began, except for I didn't really know at the time though, and I think this is a common misconception with a lot of people that want to get into makeup, is they think that you're going to get a lot of training through Ulta, but really you're pretty much just stuck at the cash register like 90% of the time, and
Yeah.
it's just a retail job. Like, you're just selling products to people. And if you're not like higher up in the company, or I guess the person that's just hired specifically to be on the floor and do sales, you're pretty much just stuck at the register the whole entire time. They really
Right.
don't ever give you a formal training. It's just you're working.
I've always wondered that, because it's like, if you ask them a question, they'll like definitely help you, But I'm like, is it their own opinion and they're just like
It is their
into
own-
makeup girlies?
100%, yeah.
And then they're like matching my foundation. I'm like, which I trust their opinion more than mine for sure, but still.
Yeah, well, just a tip for anybody out there that's shopping at Ulta, we 100% do not know what the hell we're talking about. I'm just gonna tell you right now. There's zero training that like goes into it. So I was fortunate enough to befriend. Well, she was known as this now, but I don't think the position exists now. But she was the Prestige Beauty Advisor
Okay.
and the manager for it. So I happened to go in there so freaking often that I ended up befriending her. It's when I, had my, makeup, or I guess going into makeup, I, basically stocked up on all this makeup and just became a hoarder and had thousands of lipsticks going on and eyeshadow palettes and played with all the fun colors all the time. So I was in there like probably every single week. And I ran into her every single time. Tell me about it. And I was a broke college student that was trying to pay off student loans. So yes, tell me about it.
I know.
So I've got making smart decisions in life.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that's where my, money from my really shitty retail jobs went to. So. And when I got hired in Ulta, I was like, you guys might as well just give me an in-store credit because
I know.
I
Did you at least get a discount?
Yeah. It was like, it wasn't super good, but it was like a 30% discount, I want to say. Yeah. And then you got 50% off on salon services, which was really nice.
Oh, that is
so that's like
nice.
all the aesthetic services, all the haircuts, eyebrow waxes, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good
Okay.
company to work for, honestly. And then they even gave you like health benefits. I got dental and vision through them too.
Oh, okay.
That's only if you're full time with them. I think you still get life insurance through them, even if you're not full time, which is really good still.
Yeah.
But then they have like a 401k that matches and everything too. So
Oh, dang.
no, it's a really good company.
That's
to work
more than
for,
what I
honestly.
get.
Well, it's more than what I have now. I'm self-employed and I don't get anything.
Yeah.
No, but I worked my way up into the Prestige Beauty Consultants, and really those people are the only ones who actually get a training per se, but you basically just meet like Sunday mornings, and there's maybe 5 or 6 of them that work for like the whole entire store out of like 40 employees.
Okay.
So there's really not that many of them, but they do have Prestige Beauty Advisor on their tags.
Okay.
So if you run into somebody with that, they probably will have a little bit more knowledge than somebody
Okay.
who's just says like beauty advisor on there.
Right.
Because even though it says beauty advisor, that is literally the same thing as a cashier.
Okay.
And they will not know anything.
Right.
Except for just give you their own opinions about
Right.
things. But Prestige Beauty Advisors are taught somewhat how to shade match people, but I would say that if somebody is going into like the beauty space, I would say work for Sephora because they actually have a solid training that they send you to, I know.
Okay.
I've never worked for Sephora, but I do have several people that I now have contact with that worked for Sephora beforehand, and they actually do physical training with them and like teach them how to color match people. And they
Okay.
have those little like color IQ things that they
Yeah.
can have to match you to.
I've honestly never gone into Sephora and even tried that. I always think of Ulta.
Yeah.
Just like for that.
No, Sephora 100. I mean, obviously it's a little bit better because Ulta has like, your affordable like drugstore things,
Yeah.
but then Sephora actually has the training and
Right.
the employees that have the training to be able to get you the correct color.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I
Good to know.
Yeah, so I did that though, and then there was a Mac boutique that opened up in our Ulta because we were the highest earning store for a while, and so they put a Mac boutique in there. So then I applied for the position, and then I worked for Mac Cosmetics for about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And they do send you off to a week-long training in Chicago, and then you train with their head team of makeup artists. Like I trained with like Lady Gaga's, one of Lady Gaga's makeup artists. That's
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Performances, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like fangirling and it was great.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
I'm sure that's like that like even like incentivized you to like want to do this even more then.
yeah, no, after that happened though, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And they actually flew me out to Chicago. Yeah, like the whole thing, paid for the whole entire thing, paid
Yeah.
for like our taxis and everything.
Yeah.
And you just went back and forth the whole entire time and you were just training there and they taught you everything. I mean, it was literally a mini makeup academy for the whole entire time you were
Right.
there. So they taught, and you all practiced on each other. You were actually getting physical hands-on training. Whereas with Ulta, just being a Prestige advisor with them, you don't actually practice on anybody.
Okay.
It's like you're just watching slideshows and
Right.
videos, but you don't get hands-on experience. And I've always told my viewers on my channel too, it's like if you don't practice as a makeup artist, it doesn't matter how much content you consume about it. It's like you need that hands-on experience to
Yeah.
really solidify what you're doing, because
Yeah.
otherwise it's like everybody's different. Like you don't know like,
Right.
what situations you're gonna happen upon.
I mean, this is like so embarrassing, but I feel like 2 years ago was like the first time I ever tried a winged eyeliner, even on myself.
It's so hard.
It's
It's so hard.
Just thinking about like doing the first winged eyeliner, it's like it takes practice, and even sometimes 2 years later, I'm like, they are sisters, not twins.
No matter what, I think they always will be, honestly.
I know.
And it's so funny because I've gotten to a point now where I feel like I can do makeup better on other people than I can myself.
Right.
Like, this took me probably 2 hours to do, but I can do a full face makeup in like 45 minutes on other people.
Okay.
And it's bizarre. Same with putting on false lashes. That's also harder on yourself too.
I had someone else do that to me. I've never done that, but
Yeah.
it like kind of freaks me out because I feel like I would like get it in my eyeball.
Yeah.
That's one thing I wanted to say. Like, I was like so excited to like have you on because I have like a list of questions like for the end.
No, seriously, go ahead.
So we'll
Rattle them off.
probably do 2 parts. So you definitely want to come back for part 2 because I will be like listing them off. So like I have like my listeners, like they submitted some questions, and I just like started adding my own. I'm like, I need to know this.
She needs to reveal all the beauty secrets.
Yeah, because
to
like
me.
I like fake being like you talking about when you were younger how you were kind of like a tomboy,
Yeah.
and then you were into like makeup. It's like I was like really more tomboy when I was younger.
Okay.
My sister was super girly, so like
Mhm.
I was like obsessed with her. So like I would try to like mimic her, but I just like suck at all of it. So it's like for the longest time like dressing myself, which like I was just like casual today, but like.
Mhm.
I've kind of come into my own style a bit more now.
Yeah.
But for that, I would just match whatever she would wear. I'd be like, oh, that looks cute on her. I'm going to wear that. Anything makeup-wise, because she's, like, really into makeup as well. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, what do I do?
Help me out.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So I need
So
some
I'm, like,
advice
really,
here.
really, like, excited for this. And so
Good.
just, like, taking in all the information.
No, it's all good.
Oh, my God.
No, ask whatever. I'm an open book.
Yeah. Okay, so then when did you, like, I guess a couple of questions.
Sure.
So you go to Chicago for the MAC. Like, when did you say, I want to, go off on my own and do this full time? And then, like, also, I guess, like, as far as, like, support from, like, your family,
Mhm.
like, were you married at this point? Like, what did your husband say? What did your family say? Like, was there resistance? And, like,
Mhm.
how did you kind of get over that?
Yeah, that was
If there was.
Yeah, there was a little bit. Okay, so I guess to answer your first question, I was at MAC for about 3 or 4 years. It was somewhere in between there. I'm not exactly sure which point it was, but overall, I love taking appointments because I don't know if any of your viewers know or if you're aware, but you can go into MAC and you can get makeup done for any special event, or you can get a makeup lesson done as like a one-on-one consult. But you have to like pay for it in products, so technically the application's free. But at the time, at least when I worked there, you had to buy like $60 worth of products, which is honestly like 2 eyeshadow palettes and you're done.
Yeah, literally.
So, and it's probably less now because of inflation.
Yeah, I was like,
But-
I was thinking it was one.
Yeah, you might get away with like one foundation.
One
It's like, okay, there you go,
1.5.
there's your $60.
Throw in a chapstick, there you go.
Seriously, my job becomes so much more expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah. So at that point in time, though, it's like I loved being able to meet people. I love getting to, know about other people's lives, especially learning about other people's careers that are completely different from mine. Like anybody in the healthcare field, I hate the sight of blood, so I would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Like
Yeah.
I cannot deal with it. So learning about different people's fields and careers and just their lives in general, and especially helping people for their weddings and everything too. It's like I have always been a person that's had my dream wedding envisioned in my mind, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so cool to be a part of that. And unfortunately, I don't think it's MAC's rule, I think it was Ulta's rule, because technically you were paid by Ulta. MAC is actually owned by Estee Lauder.
Okay.
That's their parent company. And so Estee Lauder basically sends the funds to Ulta, and then Ulta's the one that pays us. So we're
Okay.
technically still underneath Ulta's rule.
Yeah.
So we still have to listen to them, minus us actually being MAC employees.
Okay.
It was kind of weird how it works.
Mhm.
It's just like a whole agreement that they have with the company. Anyways, so it was technically Ulta's rules that we couldn't freelance outside of the company, otherwise it was a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Which
Which didn't really make any sense to me. Because if you think about it, it's like, what bride actually has time to come to me on her wedding day?
right.
Because it's got to be equivalent of like, I guess it's more normalized to have people come to a salon or something to do like hair and makeup at the same time. And I guess if you're, like Ulta did have a salon, so if you're coming to them to do your hair and then your makeup and everything, but we weren't really I guess
Would that happen a lot? Because I feel like
it doesn't.
most brides have them come to wherever they are.
Yeah. But like, if you think about it though, back in like around 2013 to 15, sort of, salons were still more normal for people to come to.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a different era now. But when I started with makeup, we were like in the smoky eye.
We're
like,
old.
No, we were in the smoky eye, like Anastasia dip brow pomade, Sharpie brow era. That's the era that we were in. Think about it. So I was doing nonstop gray tone smoky eyes that looked like everybody got punched in the face. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, this looks so cute. I'm like, does it though?
I thought it did. I still like a darker shade on my eyes, but I mean like it's not in anymore.
But it was
This
so
is aging
intense.
me.
I mean, it was so
So I
intense.
like don't do it anymore.
Yeah. No, we were in that era, so I mean, we were just in a completely different makeup time, and
Yeah.
weddings were at a different time at that point too. So it was very common at that point in time for people to actually still go into salons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you backtrack it,
But
then.
it's still just like
But it is more of an inconvenience for people, and that's why
Yeah.
there is people like us that freelance, because then it's, you know, we can just come to them. They don't have to worry about going
Right.
anywhere. They can get their sleep. We can't, but it's fine.
Yeah.
But it is overall, you know, more common nowadays for people to actually travel to the
Okay.
person, travel to their clients, as opposed to going in a salon or
right.
going to a mat counter or something like that.
Right. So that makes sense, like why they would have like a non-compete.
Right, yeah. But anyways, that was the reason though why I was kind of struggling with it, because I go, okay, well, I'm really want to do weddings, but of course nobody's going to come here, and I can't really take my own clients technically outside. So your girl started doing it on the down low. And I did it for a year overlapping, so I was still working at Ulta through MAC, and like, I think it was around, oh gosh, I think it was 2016, I think, when I kind of started, I think when I actually like started like thinking about quitting.
Were you
And-
nervous to like do it on the down low? Like
Oh
do
yeah.
that?
Well, the thing is though, okay, when you are in business for yourself, especially doing what I do too, about, I would say like 85 to 90% of your clientele is word of mouth.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because it's like, if you can't talk about it, then how am I supposed to get clients? And I couldn't like have a portfolio on, I couldn't even build an Instagram, I couldn't advertise it on a website or
Right.
anything. I mean, I was literally just going through word of mouth at that point in time, so I wasn't getting like that many people. I did like 2 weddings in between, and they were like very small ones.
Okay.
And most of them were out of town, so I just didn't have to worry about
Yeah.
anything getting around our area. But yeah, and so I got to the point though where I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna have to pull the plug. I'm just gonna have to rip off the Band-Aid and just go out and do it myself. But at the time though, I was like, you know, I still need to obviously have an income though, because when you start with business, it's like you're pretty much starting at ground zero and just having to work your way all the way up.
Yep.
We all know how competitive this field probably is nowadays. Like, makeup artists were starting to become like a more, I guess, sought after field to be a part of at that point in time, ever since YouTube and that whole entire community started taking off. People were like, oh, I want to be a makeup artist, and it was just a more common thing.
I feel like everything in the
Very
beauty
competitive.
industry is like seen more as a business, whereas like before people just thought it was like more like fun.
Yeah, and there are still people who have that very old school mentality too. They're like, oh, well, that's really cute. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, literally like every person that I know that's like in the beauty industry is like the biggest hustler I've ever met.
Yeah.
Like more than like some corporate girlies that I know.
No, seriously, we are. It's like, because you gotta fake it till you make it, and just kind of keep going and pushing. And
Yes.
I mean, nowadays,
And you're like typically like working for yourself or
Mhm.
like paying like a booth or something,
Mhm.
which is kind of technically like working for yourself.
Right, yeah.
anyways, So.
Oh yeah, booth running is still working for yourself, because you're technically not governed by any other person, and you're still in business for yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
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 So, like, I don't know, like, for me starting the podcast, like, I was like really nervous about like opinions and like, I just like feel like if you're on like either coast, you really are, it feels like almost more normal to pursue something that isn't like, you know,
A traditional
the
job.
traditional roadmap of
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
go to school, get a job, start a family, etc.
Mhm.
So it's like, what was that like from your family, from your husband?
Mhm.
You know, like how did you deal with that?
Yeah, as far as my actual family goes, I'm very fortunate to have a super supportive family in
Oh,
general. My mom is actually the only one that lives here in Indiana, and the
Okay.
rest of my family lives in California.
Okay.
So because they're on the West Coast, they're very
Yeah.
liberal, and that's how they think about things.
Yep.
And my family is actually, now that I think about it, kind of full of entrepreneurs.
Oh, damn.
Because my uncle and also my grandpa both worked their own businesses. So they were
Mhm.
poolmen that did that for a living. And so
Oh.
they just worked solo by themselves. So they already had like that entrepreneurial sort of thing going on. And then, so it's just me and then my cousin, who's the other grandchild technically of like my grandma and grandpa that have now passed away. But we're the two grandchildren. And my cousin was the first person to graduate from college, and then I was the second out of
Okay.
like the family, pretty much. And
It's
then
a little bit less pressure for you.
yeah, it's a little bit less pressure, but it's funny because the two of us though went into very non-traditional jobs though.
Okay.
So he actually is a freelancer, and I don't know exactly what his position is, but he has worked on film and television sets like
Mhm.
his whole life. Started out as like a local radio host, and then kind of went on after that. And he basically directs like the camera angles and does a lot with all the technology and the equipment with it. But
Oh,
I don't
okay.
exactly know what his actual position is called.
Yeah.
And he just freelances for different companies,
Okay.
but he's on his own completely. And
Oh.
yeah,
So,
so
you're like your whole family.
yeah, so because of that though, I didn't have much pushback from my family because
Yeah.
luckily they all have more of like a liberal kind of, I guess, view on life. However, my mom has always worked a 9 to 5 office job her whole
Mhm.
entire life, and she is the most like religious person when it comes to like my immediate family.
Mhm.
And she just has always been that like hardcore Christian person that wants
Yep.
me to go to church, which I don't go to church now. She
Yeah.
absolutely hates.
Yeah.
But she's always been like, oh, you need to work like a stable job and have a stable income and everything. And despite her own brother, you know, having his own pool business, she just has never wanted that to be my life. I think she always
Yeah.
wanted me to have like a stable career. Just short backstory, just so you kind of know like where I'm coming from. But I'm adopted.
Oh, okay.
And so my whole entire family is Caucasian.
Oh, I didn't
and-
realize this.
Yeah. And so I was 7 months old when I was adopted, so I don't
Okay.
have any ties. It was a completely closed adoption, so I do not know my biological parents at all
Okay.
either. That's why I don't have an accent and don't speak Chinese. But yeah, she adopted me when I was 7 months old from China. And she
Oh,
has always,
really?
yeah, so she's always been a single parent. She adopted me when she was 42, so now she's in her 70s.
Wow.
So she could technically be a grandma's age.
Yeah.
Yeah, because usually, you know, people now our age, at least, their parents are like in their 50s or 60s.
Yep.
Yep. So she's a little bit older. But yeah, adopted me as a single parent because she said she's very religious, so
Yeah.
she does not believe in the whole like sex before marriage thing. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, cool. And it makes me have questions now, but
She should not listen to the
Yeah,
rest of my episodes.
I've had this conversation with her before too, and she still doesn't want to talk to me about it. It's fine. We've gotten closer as we've gotten older, obviously,
Yeah.
but it's just funny. But anyways, she
I mean, you married your high school sweetheart, right? Did you guys get together in high school?
no, so we actually got married after I graduated from college.
Oh.
Yeah, we were always really good friends through high school.
Oh, for some reason
Yeah.
I thought you guys got to. When did you get not to go off on a side tangent?
Yeah.
But did you like you were always friends, and then like when did it change?
When my mom decided to move out of her house, my husband has always helped me move places. I mean, not as my husband at the time, but
Yeah,
you know,
as a
just as a friend, he would always, you know, move me around. I'm like, hey, I have like free pizza and beer if you want to like help me move. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm down. And so he always helped me move all the time. And I don't know what just clicked because we had this one awkward date sophomore year of high school where we went to when Coventry 13 was a thing,
Mhm.
and then B-Dubs is like right next to it, which is Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yep.
And we didn't have cars at the time, so my mom drove us on that date, and so we just walked back and forth between the two of them. He
Yeah.
awkwardly tried to hold my hand in the movies, and I said no. And then what was really weird is I go, so how did you think the date went? He's like, I think it went really well. I was like, I think it was really freaking awkward. And he goes, oh yeah, me too. And then realistically,
Guys just like don't pick up on social cues sometimes. You're just like,
but the
what?
thing is though, what I felt
Like this was the worst date I've ever been on.
I know, but then it was really funny. So after we got married, I asked him if he, you know, what he thought about our date. And he's like, I actually secretly still liked you at that point in time, and I just didn't want to admit it. And so I
Of
just,
course.
yeah. So he's like, I just had a crush on you the rest of like
Your
high
whole life.
school. So that was how that went.
It worked out for him.
It did.
I would say this is the exception, though. Usually it doesn't like pan out that way.
No, it does not. He's like, I knew I was the winner, so I was just gonna hold out.
I bet that makes you feel good, though.
It does. It really does. But yeah, I don't know what exactly clicked, but yeah, during that time when he helped me move, we just kind of became like closer than just platonic friends. And
Okay.
something kind of clicked, and we just ended up dating, and now we're married.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know what the original topic was that we were talking
Yeah.
about.
Well, I actually, do you care? It was like more about like going off and like doing your own thing and like support from family.
Yes.
But like, can I ask you more questions about being adopted? I
Yeah.
know it's like not anything about your career.
I know, that's fine. Yeah.
And if it's like too intrusive, just tell me to back
I've
off.
probably talked about it at least once on my YouTube channel, so it's
Okay.
all good.
Do you, so like for me personally, so if anyone's new here, I like deal with like a lot of like abandonment issues because like I didn't see my dad
Okay.
for like 10 years, but it was like in the middle of my life. Okay. So it's like
Oh,
first
okay.
half, and it's like my parents were together, like married,
Mhm.
and then they divorced, and then like a couple of years later he just was like, peace out. And then like, you know, then obviously I see him now.
Yeah.
But like I deal with a lot of abandonment issues, but I'm just like curious, like, do you feel like, because you had a mom, you know,
Mhm.
it sounds like you guys are relatively close, like
Mhm.
do you deal with that like from like your birth parents, or do you not really feel that way at all?
I don't really feel an abandonment issue with my birth parents just because I was so young at the time.
Right.
I think it would have affected me more if I was older, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a conscious awareness that that they
Exist.
see. The thing is, though, with me, it's like I got adopted from a very poor area in China, and I
Mhm.
was in an orphanage when my mom actually adopted me.
Okay.
So realistically, it's not because my parents didn't want me. I don't think. I think it's just because they genuinely could not afford to keep another child. And at the time, just the way the Chinese government works, it was kind of frowned upon to have like daughters. So I'm
Yep.
really convinced that I probably do have a brother biologically somewhere out there because
Mhm.
usually men got kept over the females.
Right.
So I'm thinking that
Well,
I
didn't
probably
they
do
have like a
another
rule
brother.
like about like only having one child?
Yeah, at the
Or, like,
time
you
it
had
was
to
like
pay
either
a
one or
bunch of
two
money or
children or
something?
something like that. Yeah. Yeah, but realistically, I think about it and I go, if I would have stayed, like in that orphanage and lived my life that way, or if maybe I would have still, I guess, been a part of my original family in China, I would have lived a completely different life, and I don't think
Yeah.
I would have had the privileges
Yep.
that I have now, because I do consider myself overall, just looking back, it's like I led like a pretty privileged lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, we went to the high school that we did.
Yep.
A
Absolutely.
lot of stuck up rich kids.
Yeah.
And I was in the 10% that was kind of like more like the middle class, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like we were,
I would
yeah.
like on the lower end of like
Yeah.
the school, but like if you look at everyone as a whole, like let's say like in Fort Wayne, like we're still
Well, yeah, I mean, just
privileged.
Southwest Allen County is like,
yeah.
all the houses around here are
Right.
insane.
Right.
So it's like if you didn't live in a
I
mansion,
lived
you're
in
not cool.
a ranch still, but it was still a nice ranch with a basement.
Okay, I just lived in a ranch, but
Okay.
but then in but like no, I think in high school, no, in high school I lived in a 2-story without a basement, but yeah, it was still a really nice house. I mean, it was a new build
Yeah.
and everything. So
Yep.
it's like my mom, despite being a single parent, it's like she did the best that she absolutely could for me.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like, back to your original question, I had any abandonment issues,
Okay.
because at this point in time, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that I led like a very, very nice life. And
Mhm.
I was very privileged to get to do the things that I did. And she
Mhm.
ultimately kind of saved me from the life that I could have had.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
Mhm.
Have you ever thought about like doing like 23andMe to like maybe see like if you have any siblings out there?
I have thought about that. And what's really funny is I worked on a TV show with a film crew from New York. They were
Mhm.
actually filming a case over, or I guess not case, but a TV show over the April Tinsley case.
Okay.
And there was this lady that was a genetic genealogist.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know what that is, but for those
Yep.
of you who don't, it's where you go through I guess, all the gene pool of, I guess, like you take a DNA sample and then you figure out through genealogy how that person might be connected to like the actual killer. And so
Yep.
say like you can connect like their sister or their brother, and you know that they're like a close relative of the
Mhm.
person, but you just can't figure out who it is.
Yep. Yep.
That's pretty much what genetic genealogy is. And you can obviously solve crimes that way, which is really helpful. And I actually spoke to her about this because she's done like several different 23andMe
Mhm.
sort of things for people just to try to track down their biological parents.
Okay.
most of the time though, it's really hard if it's not domestic to try to find people.
Okay.
Because with 23andMe, it's not like your DNA is automatically just put in the system. Like you have to make a conscious effort to put it in the system.
Mm-hmm.
But if for like international people, for instance, it's like if they have never had any sort of sample taken of their DNA or purposely have put their, sample in the 23andMe system, they don't have anything to match you
like
with.
I've heard like you've had to like, which like I don't know if it's 23andMe or like one of them, but you have to mark like, yes, like I'm willing to be contacted.
Yes.
Stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was like global or just in the United States.
It's more easy domestically to try to find your biological parents, but
Okay.
internationally it's kind of a hit or a miss.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've like joked. I'm like, I want to do the 23andMe in case like any of my family members like are secret murderers and like you're getting caught.
I'm turning you in.
Yeah. Screw the fingerprinting. I'm going straight to the blood.
See?
Well, I think it's not blood. You like do a spit sample or something. Oh, straight to the spit. Gross. Sorry, that was disgusting.
No, it's all good.
And then I do have like a couple more questions about this.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so your mom did it solo?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
Completely solo.
I feel like that was like so unheard of back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said like if I'm like somehow miraculously like so rich in the future, so like if my podcast takes off,
Yeah.
I would probably adopt a kid on my own.
Yeah.
But like I also know like so my mom my mom was a single mom, so
Oh, very cool.
but I feel like that was like probably the only thing you knew, so like maybe you don't know any different, but like did you ever feel like you wanted a father figure like at all?
Yeah, I guess I kind of in a way feel like I did miss out on that element, but to me my mom's such a strong and independent woman.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, so was mine.
she's kind of one of those strong independent women who don't need no man sort of situations.
Yes.
I mean, she intimidated the crap out of all of the boyfriends that I ever had.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they would come to the door and she's like, all right, so what are your intentions for my daughter? And like did the whole entire dad vibe.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, just calm down.
Oh no, she has a shotgun.
She wasn't that. She's like anti-guns, but if she did, she probably would do that.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but she was she basically acted for like the mother and the father,
Yeah.
and I feel like she did great at both the roles.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a very empowering thing for me to see because it made me realize that you can make it on your own and you don't necessarily need that other person to be able to raise a child and be able to live your life, which is really nice. So I think that's also the reason why I guess have that strong independent mentality too. And then ultimately I think it became, or I guess made me become a better business owner too.
Yeah.
It made me just really push
sure.
for what I wanted.
Right. Like you can literally do it all. Like there's no stopping you. Like that's kind of how I feel a little bit.
Same deal.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, like so I just kind of going back to, like you being like independent, ripping off the band-aid, going out on your own and like doing this as a career. Like sometimes I think like I kind of, because like I work like a corporate job, like 40 hours a week at least, like sometimes more. And then I do the podcast.
That's a lot.
And editing and all of that.
I did that at one point in time. There's this point in time where you're like, this needs to stop. Like,
yes, this is how I feel every
like
single
the hustle
day.
is real.
Well, I just like, so I used to be like such like a corporate girly where like I like made it my whole personality. And
you're like working girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like I was like so passionate about my career. And like here's the thing, like I still like to do a good job and like do good work like when I'm working. But outside of work it ends. I don't think about it anymore at all, which is like that.
So you don't have any homework or things to take home with
no,
you? Yeah.
No. I mean I work
That's
from
good.
home, but like I shut my laptop and like I'm done with you. Now it's podcast mode.
Do you 100% work from home?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I hated it at first, but I would never go back. But now I'm like, I just like want, like, there's so many additional things that I want to do. I just don't have time though.
Right.
Like I'm also like super extroverted. So like since I work from home, I do like to prioritize like my social life.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and like then just like on top of like taking care of like the house, doing all those things. And so it's like, I just like really like want to just dive in, but like it's scary.
It is very scary. Yeah. I didn't take the plunge until last year in May, and that's when I decided to. I haven't completely quit my corporate job. I guess I was getting to the point, I think, when we cut off, where I was like, you're talking too much, so we're hitting our limit.
Yeah.
Shut up. Hang on. Sorry, I'm a talker. Hence the reason I have a YouTube channel and vent all my problems.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You should start a podcast.
Yeah. I thought about it. But then I'm like, I hate hearing the sound of my own voice, so I don't know.
You get over it.
But yeah, no, I eventually got to the point though after I left my job at Mac though, where I was like, okay, I want to get into freelancing, but I need to have a stable income somewhere. And of course, most of the events that you work as a makeup artist are going to be on weekends and evenings.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, what kind of job can I get that's going to allow me to do that? 9 to 5 corporate office job.
Okay.
So that's how I got into the office job that I have right now. And
So you do 9 to 5?
I did. So I now work 16 hours a week, which is 2 days.
Okay.
But they're very flexible, luckily. They're
Yeah.
actually linked to my husband's family.
Oh, nice.
So they know that I know how to do my job, and I'm actually the only one in my position that knows how to do my job.
Okay.
So there's kind of pressure on that end, but they at least are really flexible with my actual schedule. So I don't really even need to let them know even 24 hours in advance. Like I will literally text my bosses and be like, hey, I have an appointment here, but I'm going to come in the afternoon, and then I'm just going to work this day instead of this day.
Right.
And so I'll just flip flop hours. And
Yeah.
like this week, I have pretty much an appointment like every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like tomorrow I'm coming in the morning and I have an appointment at 2. And so then that'll be like the rest of my afternoon. And then like Wednesday, I have an appointment in the morning and I'll just come in the afternoon.
Okay.
And then I'll just basically be splitting my hours. But as long as I get in the 16 hours,
Yep.
they don't really care like when I come in.
I love that.
So.
It's like I hate like so. I mean, I work 40 hours, but it's
Yeah.
like if I have to flex my time for whatever reason, like I have an appointment there, I don't want to
You're
be
pretty good about that.
micromanaged. Like that's one thing I hate.
Oh, I
But,
hate
like
that.
that's like also like I've like always known that I've wanted to be my own boss,
Mhm.
and so it's like I've been like working that way, like trying to like get to that point. But it's like I work for a huge corporation.
Okay.
Like I'm never gonna be my own boss.
Right. It's
In
like you're always
this
going to work underneath
job.
somebody.
Yeah.
Unless you're the CEO, at the top.
Yeah, that's never fucking happening.
No, I know. Yeah.
Literally never.
I told you
I'm
never.
a dreamer, but I'm not that good.
I'm not unrealistic.
Yeah. And nor do I want that either.
I feel a lot of responsibility.
Not for this job, but like I'm in my own job, yes. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
for sure.
So it's just like, and I feel like you can't really have like a plan B. Like I feel like everyone says like don't have a plan B because then plan A won't work, and it's I don't know. So it's like
But I don't know. I feel
difficult.
like it's always nice to have somewhat of a fallback plan. I guess that's why, as a business owner that kind of relies on other people to make my income, because it's really, I just get spontaneous people that are like, hey, I'm going to get family photos done.
Yep.
Like, can you do this? And it's like a matter of 2 days notice,
oh, okay.
And then just today, I actually got texted by a photographer that I work with that I do like boudoir shoots for.
Mhm.
And she's like, hey, can you do this thing on Wednesday? Can you do this thing next Monday? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But a lot of the times, especially like, with weddings, it's like that's planned years in advance.
Yep.
But a lot of the times our income is solely relied on like last minute appointments like
Okay.
that. So it's nice to have a flexible schedule, or at least work for a company if you do have a side thing.
Yep.
But have that be super flexible so you can work around it. But
Right.
it is really important to have multiple streams of income, especially when
Yeah.
you're trying to branch out on your own. I mean, if you talk to like any millionaires or billionaires,
Yep.
it's like they all have like 7+ income
Right.
streams, like
Right.
because you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And that's the reason why I partially started a YouTube channel too.
Yep.
Not like I make a shit ton of money off of YouTube or anything.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that. I was like, well, maybe we'll talk offline about more details.
I've actually revealed on my YouTube channel what I make
Oh,
every
you-
single month.
okay.
Yeah, so I can actually reveal that.
Yeah. Please
Um,
do.
Yeah, so I have about 13,000 subscribers right now.
Yep.
And it actually deals with the I think it's a CPM or RPM, but it's like the revenue per mile, which is like how many views you get like the dollar you make like per 1,000 views.
Mhm.
And that can like vary depending on what your niche is on YouTube. So like
Yep.
finance channels make the most, like they can make up to like $17 like per 1,000 views or something, and then it kind of just maths out at that point in time. Whereas I think mine hovers around, it goes in between like 7 to 14. It's like kind of random. It just depends on like what video I'm doing. My vlogs make me the most though, just because of the watch time. But watch time does like ultimately, vary
Yeah.
all the time. But the higher the watch time you get, it's like more ads run, and then you
Right.
get revenue from your ads. But so I guess whenever I tell people income from YouTube, I always like to let people know that it's different. Like you can have the same amount of subscribers as me, but make completely different figures
Mhm.
just based on what your RPM is.
right.
So with that in mind, I usually make about like $400 to $500 every single month off of YouTube.
Okay, that's really nice.
Yeah, so it at least pays for the car, so that's nice.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I'm like, I have like so many aspirations. Like, I want to do like the podcast, and then like my dream is to like eventually, because like people do like podcast tours, and like it all looks a little bit
Mhm.
different, and so like I would want to bring something different to the table.
Right.
But, like I dream about doing that, and then like once I get like a good chunk of change, like I want to start like my own like nonprofit.
Yeah, that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something? I don't know if you're wanting to answer this or not. Are you monetized like through your podcast?
I haven't started.
Okay.
I have like this
How does
goal.
that work? Because I don't know how that portion works at all.
Yeah. So like the platform that I use specifically, they like I can do an ad for them,
Mhm.
and they'll pay me like a certain amount, for however many listens you get.
Okay.
But like I've done like a lot of research, and they like say like there's a certain amount of like consistent listenership that you want to try to get to before you like interrupt like the listening.
Okay.
And so I haven't totally hit that.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, I don't know. So some part of me, it's like I should just dive in
Mhm.
to do that, and then who cares? But
Yeah.
it's like one ad, and people can just fast forward if they don't want to listen.
Right.
But then on the other hand, I'm like, well, no, this was my goal. So I don't know. I've been kind of grappling with it. Like,
Okay.
I'm like, maybe this year I might try. So far it's like just kind of call it a hobby that I spend like 15 hours a week doing.
That's what YouTube started out with me too. I was like, I started mine during the pandemic when I was
Yeah.
quarantined at home.
Well, and like that's like kind of what I wanted to ask you. It's like, so I mean, your videos are entertaining. You do good work. So I feel
you.
like I feel like with anything, like it's the quality that you bring to the table,
Mhm.
and then people will come. But
Yeah.
like ultimately, I also feel like it's like consistency. In
That has a lot
my
to do-
opinion. But like how do you feel like you've built up like your listenership?
Yeah, I feel like so my YouTube channel started out in the traditional beauty guru way. I started out with a bunch of really embarrassing makeup tutorials. And I just started out with my iPhone. Like I didn't have
Yeah.
any certain like filming equipment or audio equipment or anything. And I was just doing it like in my room. My lighting sucked in the whole entire thing.
Mhm.
And the problem is though, it's like it's so competitive on YouTube nowadays. So it's almost like when you start a YouTube channel, you're almost like forced to upgrade things like automatically because otherwise it's like we're not stuck in 2011 again.
Yeah.
It's like people aren't on their iPhones anymore. It's like people have all these like high quality editing softwares
Yep.
and really fancy cameras that have these really nice visuals on them. So when you're coming into a space like YouTube that's very oversaturated with a bunch of high quality content, it's really hard to compete in a space like that unless you have it. So that's why I never thought that my YouTube channel would ever take off. And all of a sudden I just started like getting people slowly. And I think I did luck out with the timing that I
Mhm.
decided to do because like everybody is quarantined at home
Right.
during that time. So what do we have to do? Listen to YouTube videos.
Yes. And you have nothing
everybody
but
works from
time.
home, so you
Yeah.
have YouTube videos playing in the background, and you're just watching this weird girl apply her makeup in this really shitty lighting with a really bad audio quality coming from her iPhone. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
But then eventually, though, I did my very first video on my channel, I guess, involving my freelance makeup kit. And everybody likes organizational stuff
Yeah.
nowadays. And mine's all, compartmentalized with like label makers and the whole entire thing. It's like very aesthetic to look at.
Yeah.
And so everybody's like, ooh, like, what do you have in your kit? Like, what do the pros use, you
Yeah.
know? And that video now has like 75,000 views.
Oh wow, damn.
And that built up like over the course of just a year.
Okay.
And so that's actually the video that kind of took off for me. And I gained like, it doesn't seem like a lot now, but I went literally from 0 subscribers
Mhm.
to I think like 800 subscribers after
Okay.
that. And it got me really close. And to be monetized on YouTube, you have to have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours for the year.
Okay.
And usually now I'm fortunate enough to get like 4,000 watch hours like easily within like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do when you first begin
Yeah.
because it all depends on your watch time, obviously, and how entertaining that it is
Yeah.
and the quality of content. And I feel like anymore with content creation, it's like you either have to be the best, which is really hard to do, or you have to bring something different to the table.
Yes.
And so I didn't see a lot of makeup artists sharing their lives as makeup artists.
Okay.
And so that's why I decided to switch my content and be like,
Mhm.
all right, well, maybe I should start teaching other makeup artists how to build their businesses.
Yeah.
And then kind of go more in depth with that. And that's when I started getting into vlogging and
Yep.
going around. And I just don't see that kind of content still nowadays.
Right.
A lot of people have done it, I think, but a lot of people actually follow my channel that do it. And then they kind of started like creating their own content spin like off of
Oh,
mine, which is
shoot.
kind of cool.
That's
Yeah.
a great compliment.
Mhm.
I mean, I personally feel like what I like watching, whether it's listening to like podcasts or like watching TikToks, it's people that are just like genuinely like real about what's going on.
Yeah. And I'm
Like,
very real
authentic,
in my
real.
vlogs.
Let it all out there. Like that's what I like. And
Yeah.
I feel like especially like people like that listen to like the podcast, they're
Mhm.
like, that's probably why they show up. They're like, we want the tea, you know?
Yeah, I felt really okay. So there's one vlog that I had in I think I posted in March of this year. So I vlog all the weddings that I do, and I get permission from my clients ahead of
Mhm.
time if they're comfortable with me vlogging. One wedding I did, which was this past weekend, and the client wasn't okay with me filming, which not everybody wants their lives out
Yeah.
on YouTube. I totally get that. And I
Yeah.
respect
I
it.
know.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, cool, like whatever, you know. But most of my clients, they're pretty chill, and a lot of the people know nowadays that social media pretty much drives your business.
Yep.
So they're just like, okay, cool, like if you want to advertise your work and film me, that's
Right.
fine, you know. But there's this one wedding in March that didn't like go so well, and I actually voiced it like the whole entire time, and like my frustration was real on my face my whole entire time.
You like
And
zoom
I
in
kept-
on your face.
No, I
like,
kept it like completely anonymous, but like yeah, just like yeah.
Oh, you just talked about it
I
separately?
just talked about it,
Okay.
but I talked about it like while I was going through it,
yeah.
and so you could just see like the frustration progress as I was going on through the vlog. I'm like, oh my gosh, my client's gonna find this and she's just gonna blast me online. It was so terrible.
Okay, y'all, that concludes part 1 of my interview with Julie. Definitely tune back in to part 2 because she reveals her most nightmare experience with a client. So, like, literally, she reveals it all. She doesn't, leave anything behind. So, come back next week for that. And you can follow the Oat Pod and follow Abby McCarville. And just, I don't know if I've actually said this yet on the actual audio version of the podcast. So if you're not following me on the socials and you're only listening each week on the podcast, I did launch my YouTube channel. So if you don't want to just continue to listen like via just audio, you can subscribe and watch me on there. So thank you. Oh.